The upcoming expositions surrounding Hags have been written as if the players in this fictional campaign are reflecting upon their past events. These reflections are brought on by the surroundings of the players on their final approach to their ultimate foray into extraordinary danger. We at Encounter This would like to express a content and trigger warning for these expositions. They may contain dark themes and imagery, including, but not limited to, outdated cultural opinions, adult content, sexuality, child abuse, gore, and violence that may be uncomfortable for some audience members. Listener discretion is advised.
You've seen some shit in your day, Ren. Some of it gritty, some of it deceptively mundane. None of it as darkly obfuscating as all this. A small town, a lost love, a dead child. No mere child, of course, the offspring of, well, evil, but no less innocent in the end. So knowing that doesn't make the images in your head any easier to behold, does it? And the strange, jagged, pointed trinket you found hanging around Twiggy's neck, well, you figured it was just a silly plaything important to an imaginative and troubled child. You certainly hadn't expected it to hold such a dark secret, did you? As you absent-mindedly clutch that small, grim piece of metal in your hand, you also nudge the hilt of your trusty blade with what's left of your other forearm. This little metallic ornament, rather ugly as it may be, serves many purposes for you now. A reminder of what's been lost, of what cannot be recovered. A reminder of what can be accomplished and of what can be destroyed. A distraction from new and even more dangerous perils.
Or perilous danger.
You stop in your tracks as Twiggy stands before you, a sardonic smile across her face. You've seen her many times over the last few weeks, but you've the presence of mind now to know it is either your own mind playing tricks, or, and much more likely, the witchery of this low and loathsome plane. Instead of giving into an instinct of sheer fright, you observe and consider the form in front of you. Your eye catches a shiny gray object hanging on a thong around her neck, identical to the one in her own possession. Identical to the object that once belonged to the real Twiggy.
Hello, my name is Ren Timbers, but you can call me Badger.
You, Posey, as well as Sir Dudley, look at Ren, a look of friendliness on his face. Confused, you don't see anyone else around and are unsure who he's speaking to, or who Badger is for that matter.
Oh, by the way, you have no power over me.
You immediately ready yourselves for action as you hear those final and familiar words. Badger has used his counter-charm skill. Twiggy rears her head back as if to let out a scream, and it's as if she had been there the whole time. You all feel fear start to well up inside you. Everyone roll a wisdom saving throw. With advantage, thanks to Badger.
Hey there, creatures, and welcome to Encounter This, a podcast exploration of the creatures from Dungeons & Dragons and the lore that surrounds them. Hey there, creatures, and welcome to another episode of Encounter This. I am your co-host, James No Hugs Kid, and with me as always is Freeman Bear Hugs Iceton. And today we're going to be talking about Hags from Volo's Guide to Monsters on page 159. Take it away, Freeman.
Hags, I think, are probably my favorite of the list. Probably because they're arguably the darkest, in my opinion.
I'm going to try so hard not to call them Hags.
Hags. Yeah, but the biggest mystery around the Hags is how to say their name. Fact number one. Most of this information, too, is these guys are on Volo's Guide to the Monster page. What page is it? 159?
159.
They'll also be covering content and information on the Monster Manual, page 177, and Volo's Guide to Monsters 56 through 58.
Yeah, same as all the other episodes so far.
More or less, yeah. So to start off, Hags, they live in mountains and hills, and they are the most physically capable of all hags, and they find the terrain easy to navigate. So they actually have a really large and hunched posture. But despite that, they're still as tall as an ogre, even when hunched over like that. They stand around 8 feet tall, and they're very imposing physically compared to their sister hags.
So I'm looking at a picture in Volo's Guide to Monsters right now because I own a legitimate copy. Wizards.
Fancy man.
Is that 8 foot tall measured from their hump?
I didn't really specify, but I would think so. Yes,
because they're
hunched over.
Yeah,
But they are huge.
Yeah, they have the same posture as Quasimodo. Can I say that? Is that
Sure.
PC?
I don't see why not. You're not wrong.
I guess, yeah.
But yeah, they as you can see in the picture, their skin is like a bruised blue or black in color, and their claws are like rusty blades.
Yeah, they are very unappealing.
They like the other hags, they love to torment creatures that are weak and fearful, and they're actually capable of tearing a grown man or woman apart. But they still prefer hunting children, and they prefer their flesh above all others.
Is that like why we like veal? They haven't been worked as hard?
Well, maybe, because the next part even says they love to flay their victims to make supple leather from their skin.
So they prefer... Okay. Yeah, I mean, calf's leather is, I think, the best leather? Can I say best?
Best? My highest in quality?
I don't even think it's the highest in quality. I don't know anything about leather, listeners. Just don't.
Yeah, definitely not a couple of tanners over here. Now, the Annis hags, they will leave tokens of their cruelty on the edges of their lairs to provoke fear and paranoia in nearby villages. This is actually reminds me of what we were kind of making fun of in the previous episode about the tokens and the fetishes that we would find in the forests and stuff that we were kind of teasing about. You know,
yeah.
These Annis hags seem to specifically do that. They leave these tokens around to like sort of ward off people.
So they're really going out of their way to be creepy as fuck, eh?
Oh yeah, like I'd say for me so far they're definitely probably the creepiest. And wait till we talk about the iron tokens, and of course what I have to come up.
Jesus.
Yeah, so we just talked about the supple leather made from skin. I think again they're really talking about those fetishes and stuff they would leave in the forest. We talked about I think it was in Sea Hags.
Yeah, that would have been in Sea Hags. Yeah, they really seem to be going for like a body horror kind of vibe with these guys.
Yeah, I feel more of a visual setup for these guys in their environment, for sure. They love nothing more than watching a whole and vibrant community turn fearful and paralyzed with terror. So just setting those things up on the edges and the outskirts of their territory will really invoke that fear.
Yeah, you really don't get a doubt about that. I could see them making a Cronenberg movie out of Annis hags alone.
Yeah. What's that M. Night Shyamalan film there? The Village? Yeah, it did not go over very well, but it sort of, I picture that sort of vibe. They've basically cordoned themselves off from this terrifying creature. So they love to turn a village into a place where no one will go out at night. Any and all strangers are met with suspicion, anger. Parents tell their children to behave, or quote, else the Annis will get you. So real scare your child into behaving kind of thing.
You're really taking it to the limit with this one.
with some legitimacy, I'm sure. So they are known as child corruptors. When feeling particularly evil, the Annis will disguise herself as a kindly-looking elderly woman and approach a child if found in a remote area. She gifts them with an iron token. It gives it to the child and tells them to confide in Granny.
This is why you don't take things from strangers.
Seriously. Especially old hermit women in the forest.
Yeah, like, what a bad idea. Yeah. This old lady gave me this iron tooth.
Right?
What the fuck are you babbling about, child?
It's fucked up. So Granny will convince the child it's okay to have bad thoughts and to commit bad deeds, starting with small things like breaking things and leaving the house without permission.
Oh, cool.
Eventually she will communicate with them and push the envelope and push them into doing things like pushing someone down the stairs or setting a house on fire. Eventually, the family or even the whole community will see the child as a bad seed and have to decide how he or she will be punished, or in some cases, even exiled as a child.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's crazy. Yeah, they really love to really, they're really fucking with people's heads, and a child of all things becomes something they fear and can't trust.
Really seem to be playing the long game with this too.
Now, a little bit outside of that, they do have a tribe mother tendency. So they attract and adopt groups of things like trolls and ogres and large and loutish creatures, as it said. Much in the same way she corrupts a child, she will control and rule over them with brute strength, verbal abuse, and superstition.
So they're really playing up this matriarchal kind of value with the Annis Hag.
Absolutely, yeah. Just really governing over a child or these big dumb creatures and forcing them into submission and obedience, I think.
Some control issues here, it looks like.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, so talk to me about mechanics. Hey there, creatures. James from the future coming at you. Just wanted to let you know that we had a little bit of an issue with Freeman's microphone from about 10:30 to 11:30, so just bear with us and it should clear up right after that.
Yeah, they want to, again, provoke fear and paranoia, especially in nearby villages. And they love nothing more than watching a whole and vibrant community turn fearful and become paralyzed with terror. They love to turn a whole village into a place where no one will go out at night. Any and all strangers are met with suspicion and anger, and parents tell their children to behave, else the Annis will get you.
That's crazy. That's so dark. It's so dark.
It is so dark. They, again, love to target children. When they feel particularly evil, the Annis will disguise herself as a kindly-looking elderly woman and approach a child, especially if found in a remote area. She will gift an iron token to the child to use to confide in Granny. Granny will convince the child it's okay to have bad thoughts and commit bad deeds, starting with small things like breaking things and leaving the house without permission. But eventually she pushes the envelope to things like pushing someone down the stairs or setting the house on fire. Eventually, the family or even a whole community will see the child as a bad seed and have to decide how he or she will be punished or even if she must be exiled.
So I just want to go back to that real quick. The kindly looking elderly woman disguise. Mm-hmm. Is this woman ugly? Because I feel like we touched on a previous episode on how hags can never be beautiful.
No, that was the sea hags only.
Okay.
What we discussed. They have such an obsession with ugliness and whatnot that they are incapable of creating a disguise that isn't ugly, where the rest of the hags still can.
Gotcha. So she actually can be a kindly looking elderly
Yes, I believe they all can except for the sea hag.
Okay, gotcha.
And so Annis hags are actually kind of like tribe mother types as well. They have a tendency to attract and adopt groups of trolls and ogres and other large and loutish creatures. Much in the same way they corrupt a child, she will control and rule over them through brute strength, verbal abuse, and superstition.
Okay, and I imagine we'll touch on that a little bit more in the minions section of one of these episodes.
Yeah, certainly, yeah. Now that's most of the basic lore surrounding the Annis hag, so I'm just going to jump into mechanics real quick.
Yeah, please do.
Now, the Annis hag is a CR6, 17 AC natural armor. That's actually on par with the green hag for AC. And they have 75 HP as their sort of standard average, which is curiously lower than the green hag, who sits at 82.
Lower?
Lower. Not really sure why, especially since they are supposed to be more physically capable in general.
Yeah, and their CR is much, much higher, right?
Yeah, it is 3 higher.
So tell me how hard these things hit then. It's gotta be that, right?
Well, before I dive into that, they do have damage resistances to cold, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing, non-magical.
I don't know, man. I feel like as soon as you're fighting CR6 creatures, you've got a party at either level 5 or 6. You should probably have a +1 something at that point, yeah.
They are a large fey creature, large, definitely, and they are chaotic evil. Their languages are Common, Giant, and Sylvan. And
that adds up.
Yeah, they have a couple skill bonuses, unlike the Sea Hag. Deception +5, Perception +5. They have Dark Vision, same as the Sea and Green Hag. This is the first one we're discussing that is not amphibious.
Okay.
They do have innate spellcasting, charisma being the modifier, which is the trend. They have a +2. DC 13 is the standard. And 3 times a day, they can cast Disguise Self, including making themselves a medium humanoid, despite the fact they're large. And they can use Fog Cloud.
Interesting. Is that part of Disguise Self? Do you know if they can change their size?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to be able to, but I think it's an exception to the rule. based on the fact that it's an innate spellcasting. There's no spell slots involved.
Is charisma their highest skill? Because looking at C and Burhags, charisma is either on par or below.
Yeah, so as far as stats go, the Green Hag is the highest in strength, and second in con, and then charisma comes in. I believe it's more or less the same for the Annis Hag, who actually has a 21 in strength, by the way.
Jesus Christ. Was that a plus 5? That's a plus 5.
That's a plus 5, yeah. So looking at her actual attacks, she's got multi-attack. She could do 3 attacks, 1 bite, and 2 claws. Both are sitting at a plus 8 to hit, 3d6 plus 5 piercing and slashing damage, respectively.
It's actually pretty lackluster.
It is, but here's where she gets real crazy. Is she has another ability called Crushing Hug. It's another plus 8 to hit, and it does 9d6 plus 5.
Okay, so we found why she's a CR6 creature.
Yeah. It is considered bludgeoning damage, and if she succeeds, if the target is large or smaller, they are grappled.
So she can't bear hug a huge purple worm?
No, not a huge purple worm, but she can bear hug an ogre or something, right?
Right.
And the escape is a DC 15, and until the grapple ends, the target takes an additional 9d6 plus 5 damage at the start of the Hag's turn.
I take it back, listeners. That's why she's a CR6 creature.
Yeah, she can just hold that and keep crushing. The Hag cannot attack in any other way while grappling a creature in this way, though. So she is stuck doing only that. But that is something that could kill someone real quick.
Yeah, what's the average roll on 96?
You would know better than I.
The average roll is between 27 and 36. 9 by 3 is 27. 9 by 4 is 36. So crazy. I'm not really sure if Wizards goes 4 or 3, but I would go 3 for 3d6. So you're looking at about an average roll of 27 bludgeoning damage per turn, which adds up pretty fucking quick when you're looking at 6th level characters.
Absolutely,
We're
yeah.
maxing out at 100 hit points around that time.
And not to mention the fact that she might have a retinue of large creatures at her disposal too, right? So it's not just your party attacking an Annis Hag that's hugging one of your party members. Like, you're going to have other shit to deal with, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. But that doesn't affect her CR. That's
no, certainly not.
Counter CR, yeah.
All right, and with all that, we have to discuss the Iron Token previously mentioned. The mechanics surrounding it are that the Annis will pull out one of her iron teeth or nails and spend 1 minute polishing and shaping it, typically into a small ring, coin, or mirror.
So she is strong enough to form an iron tooth into a coin.
Correct. In 60 seconds, no less. After which any creature holding the token can have a whispered conversation, provided they are on the same plane and are within 10 miles of the Hag. The token holder can only hear the Hag's voice, and no ambient noise, sounds, or voices from other creatures will come through, and the same goes to the Hag's end of the conversation. Up to 3 of these tokens can be active at one time. As an action, the Hag can discern which direction and the approximate distance any of her tokens are in. She can deactivate any of her tokens at any distance at will. The token retains its physical shape and properties, but loses all magical ones.
How does she activate it?
It must be within that polishing spot. My guess is that.
I mean, like, how does the holder of the coin not just hear all the bullshit and Annis Hag is talking?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess it's very much open to interpretation. It says you have a whispered conversation. I kind of imagine you really got to hold it up to your mouth,
right,
for it to work. It's not just, it's not picking up ambient noise. It doesn't mean because it's on your person you can talk through it. You probably really have to walkie-talkie that shit. Yeah,
but on the Annis Hag side,
probably the same deal.
Okay, so they have their own token? Is that what you're thinking?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Where's the receiver end?
Yeah.
I think it's honestly just because it's
like
it's
a literally radio, like a Russian spy from the 40s.
I fucking hope so. No, I would imagine because it's just literally a magical piece of her person that she can just do it.
So she's just magically flipping through radio
The rest of her nails and teeth act as antennae. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Gross. What a weird, creepy fucking hag.
Oh man, I love the idea of them just ripping their own teeth out just to like, and then turn it into an old woman and then hand it to the kids. You know, they don't even know where it came from.
Here's an iron shark's tooth, little girl.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
And I guess by coin, I mean the shape of a coin, not like actual stamped currency.
I don't imagine it would be.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably carved something into it, but probably not.
Photo of her giving the finger guns.
Not properly minted. Definitely the finger guns with a big hunch over. Yeah.
A tree grown out of it. One eye winked.
Oh,
like Buddy Christ.
Okay, moving on. Now, we'll move on to the regional effects from an Annis Hag's lair within 1 mile.
Yeah, tell me what I'm looking at if I'm stupid enough to cross this thing.
So gravel stones on safe-looking paths, roads, or trails will occasionally become sharp in 100-foot intervals. Walking on them is like walking on caltrops. So, of course, I went and looked up caltrops to double-check what that is. It's a DC 15 dex saving throw or stop moving and take 1 piercing damage.
Really? I always thought it was just difficult terrain and vehicles couldn't move through it.
Well, it continues. Until the creature regains at least 1 hit point, their walking speed is reduced by 10 feet. A creature who moves at half speed does not need to make the saving throw.
Gotcha.
So it sort of forces you to treat it like difficult terrain or make a dex saving throw. And that's every time you move through, of course. Another effect in the region would be small avalanches or rock slides that will intermittently fall and block the road or bury a traveler. A buried creature is restrained and must hold its breath until dug out, which could be pretty dangerous.
Yeah, suffocation rules in 5e are pretty lack, but it definitely could be dangerous.
Yep. Another thing you'll encounter will be strange laughter sounding like children or the hag herself, which occasionally pierces the silence. Pretty mundane, but creepy. And then you'll also encounter small cairns appearing along the route that you're taking. They contain anything from mysterious bones or nothing at all. However, they may be haunted by skeletons, specters, or even hostile fey creatures.
What is a cairn?
Cairn's just like a purposely placed stone. Sometimes they're just very, very simple or nothing fancy, or sometimes they'll have carvings and runes put into them.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think most of the time you would hear them called a cairn stone.
Yeah, maybe.
Technically, they're just cairns.
Okay. So it seems we've come to the consensus that the regional effects for hags are just to establish atmosphere, really. Like, there's a couple of little encounter notes in there, but it's not really anything special.
No, I kind of feel like that should be the idea of the regional effects. We have kind of talked about them being lackluster, and particularly the lair actions so far. But I think it's just, especially with the regional effects, it's just meant to, I think, inspire you to set the tone for just how dark and dangerous even just approaching the lair can be. Definitely gives the DM opportunity to play.
Yeah, it seems like a DM could have a lot of fun establishing tone with these guys.
Definitely. Now, we'll look at the lair actions. The saving throw DC is the hag's highest ability. In this case, it would be strength, and we're looking at 21.
So that's a +5 to the DC?
I think we discussed the DC is actually set at the score itself. It doesn't seem to specify, though. So DC might be 21.
I feel like it's 11 plus the highest ability score modifier, but you could be correct.
I mean,
we definitely touched on it in the Sea Hags episode.
Now, as far as lair actions go for the Annis Hag, they can create a thick cloud of caustic black smoke with a 20-foot radius. It's centered at the place a hag can see within 120 feet of her. It lasts until initiative count 20 on the next round, and creatures and objects in or behind it are heavily obscured. A creature that enters or starts its turn in the cloud takes 3d6 acid damage. This is the only lair action they have.
As far as lair actions go, that's not too bad because there's no save, and you could just start a wall of caustic smoke on the players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as soon as their turn starts, they have to take an initial amount of damage.
Yeah, that's really only valuable if the hag has a high initiative count. Mm-hmm. Or I guess this enacts an initiative count of 20.
Yeah. And imagine if the hag was, say, in a hallway. This could also be used to heavily obscure, making it impossible for ranged attacks to come through. you'd have to pass through the smoke or wait for it to dissipate.
You know what? I think I would take ranged attacks away. I think 3d6 acid damage would melt an arrow.
Yeah, it could
Normally, I'd just give him like mischance or cover, but
Sure.
yeah, I think I would take that away. I actually like this one. I don't understand the caustic smoke, but I don't understand what that has to do with the Inishag or how that's reflected in the lore that we've seen previously.
Doesn't really seem to apply at all. I guess, again, when we talk about weird magic in the future, maybe it's just kind of lines up with that.
Not really.
No?
Weird magic is not. It's not as interesting as you think it's going to be. It's cool and I really like it, but it's not.
I think weird magic is as interesting as you want to make it, but stock standard, there's not much there to go on.
Sort of. Weird magic is, for the most part, reflected as charms. So they're like spell scrolls. They're one-use abilities.
Okay. Yeah, right. Yeah. So, in any case, we will cover that later on.
Yeah, that'll be in our following episode.
Hags. The other mysteriously named hag.
Actually, that one's not that mysterious.
No?
No, I figured that one out.
Okay.
I don't know if I wrote it down, but I figured it out.
Oh. You did the math on the letters, did you?
Yeah. It's real Da Vinci coded that word.
Sick. Never has algebra been so useful.
There's a topical reference for you folks at home. Da Vinci's Code. I understand that this was a book before it was another bad Tom Hanks movie.
Yes. Yep. It was indeed. We'll move on from mechanics and talk about a few more general hag stuff from Volo's Guide. Hags are solitary creatures. We have talked about that. They hate being together. We discussed covens. They like to be left alone. But they do have a social side to them, despite that. So they have a selfish nature. Of course, they cherish independence from the rest of the world, as well as as other hags. However, they recognize that all hags are kindred souls and members of a dark sorority or sisterhood. Despite their dislike for each other, they share knowledge and will trade secrets. They do this to stay informed on worldly events and potential dangers. Even hags that live in extremely remote areas in isolation know what's happening with their neighboring hags. These communications can be from personal visits, through magical means, or even mundane messengers like birds under the hag's sway. Other hags are the closest thing to a friend any hag will have. If a hag is to be killed, other hags will likely hear about it. If the victim was friendly with another, the culprit may find themselves a victim of retaliation. If a hag is killed while owing favors to another, the killer is thought to be now responsible for fulfilling those debts.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Inversely, if the hag killed was an enemy of others, the killers may find themselves receiving relatively cordial treatment. I really like how that all plays into the bargains we talked about in the previous episodes. They really seem to have this unofficial code. They can be friendly with each other. They can be mortal enemies of each other. And anyone who interferes in any kind of way is sort of at the mercy of of the hag and how they're going to treat the scenario.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I've found so far in our research for this and listening to you explain Ennis hags and Annis hags and green hags to me, that there are really a few fundamental tenets that these creatures are really well written around. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff that they're not particularly interesting. Like, I don't care for most of their abilities and mechanically, but lore-wise, these guys are just done so well. Mm-hmm. They're so on point. The consistent plot threads are just so well executed in all the lore that we've looked at so far.
Yeah, I really like how they just seem to be covering the same thing but in different angles. With that solitary nature. But of course, they also want to bring people to them and corrupt them. So there's, in essence, no solitude in wanting that. It's just this sort of constant. Almost like battle with themselves in their very nature.
Yeah, that seems to be their primary tenet, is to corrupt and destroy.
Yeah.
And corrupting and destroying by nature is a very social activity. Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting how the dichotomy of that plays out with the solitary creatures.
Yeah.
And especially the last couple of points you made, their relationship to each other and how that can be reflected after one of their deaths that's a plot hook for a campaign right there.
100%. Absolutely. Now we're going to talk about minions and pets. Now, despite the solitary nature, hags...
Not the movie. Not the movie.
Not the movie. That's a movie?
Yeah, the Minions movie. It's a spin-off from Despicable Me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure.
I think it's actually a spin-off from Despicable Me 2, but...
Don't know. That's your territory, I guess. Animated films.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Carell was great in the first one. The second one was...
Yeah. Never saw it.
I never saw the third one, and I'm not going to watch it.
There's a third one?
Yeah.
I'm so out of the loop.
Yeah, I think it just dropped on Netflix in Canada.
Canada. The homeland. Okay, Minions and Pets, not the movie. Despite...
Wait, I'm going to stop you one more time.
All right.
Wait. What's that sound?
Ah, that, my friend, is the sound of the delicious Blackmail Stout, which very, very appropriately has a lovely drawing of a crow or raven. Raven on it.
One of Odin's ravens.
One of Odin's ravens. And it's fitting because a raven is something exactly the sort of creature you would expect a hag to have their sway over and use as a messenger.
Actually, on the side of the can, I'm going to read this to you verbatim.
Let's do it.
Dispatched every day at dawn, Odin's 2 ravens fly the world over, bringing news from the land of men back to the Norse god by nightfall. What secrets do they gather as they spy from on high, or scavenge from the leavings of men? Next time the birds call at your door, perhaps a glass of blackmail with its rich, round, and slightly sweet character will still their extortive tongues.
It's so dramatic, and I love it.
Oh, thank you, Strange Fellows, for sponsoring this episode. And
So lovely. We've made it. We hit the big time. You know that, right?
Yeah, we're there. We're now we just need some more of you to join us on Patreon.
Yeah.
It's patreon.com/encounterthispod. I've said it wrong in the previous 2 episodes. I'm going to correct it in post.
I was actually just thinking that today about how I actually don't know what our email is because you're the one who's always saying it.
They're all in the drive.
No. In any case, Minions and Pets, not the movie.
Minions and Pets. I'm
Hags.
really excited about this.
Okay, sweet.
I think you, of all people, know that I love the Minion mechanic from 4th edition, and I'm hoping that it's reflected some way in this.
Mechanically, there's not much here, I'll tell you that, but you tell me.
Okay.
So despite their solitary natures, hags actually sometimes find the need for a certain amount of companionship. They will scratch this proverbial itch by acquiring servants they can insult, slap around, and otherwise abuse.
Is slap around a quote from?
I'm pretty sure it's right in there. Yeah. These creatures may be charmed with a spell to make them compliant. Something like disobedience will cause their own heart to stop. Yeah, so they can just sort of do that with again, probably with their weird magic.
There's a great player hook.
Yeah, right. Or they might just physically or verbally abuse someone into like fearful submission. Most hags have a slave or minion of some kind that will help to guard and defend against attackers, even if it's just a common animal. So again, that whole thing, I think it was in the first episode, the sea hags or with the green hags, where they won't come up and fight you head on.
Yeah, they really try not to engage in physical confrontation,
Absolutely
even though
not.
the Anis hag can clearly take care of herself.
Seriously. They particularly love using some sort of mortal creature as their slave. A paladin, for example, will have no qualms putting hag down with her sword, but if the paladin has to first cut through a swarm of farmers under the hag's control, they might think twice about it. They're also useful as hags' eyes and ears and for infiltration of settlements, so especially ordinary folk. They can use them to further their gains and control.
I think I might use this as a character hook one day.
It would be a great one.
Like a goblin paladin under the thumb of a
Goblin
hag.
Paladin. Pathfinder 2, 2nd edition, man. Pathfinder 2nd edition. You can play goblins. They're awesome.
You're not a Glass Cannon Patreon subscriber, are you?
I am now, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you started Emerald Spire yet?
No.
Okay.
No.
Troy LaValle plays a goblin.
Oh, yeah?
I think he's a paladin.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Now, the weird magic that a hag may have at her disposal may allow her to control something more powerful than herself as well. But more on that on the next episode. Now, favors beget favors is a quote from the book, and a hag may call in a debt of something as powerful as even a dragon, or a noble, or another hag. giving her magical, physical, and even political power in some ways.
I love that they just sandwich noble in between dragon and hag. Like, oh, here's a dude in fine clothes with lots of gold.
Well, it does say, like, to a certain degree, they might want a certain amount of political power, which is, but you're not wrong. It just sounds silly.
It really doesn't. I mean, a king or
a king, sure. They didn't want to shoehorn you into royalty, I guess,
or gender, I guess.
Yeah. Now, as we know already, hag layers cause regional effects, and these effects can even twist the animals and minions in her lands, turning them into corrupted fae versions of themselves. This can even grant them resistances or grant them abilities like turning into a flock of crows or teleport between shadows. So they don't really give you too much to work with, but all of that seems to be really inspiring you to play with the creatures you're putting into the regional effects in the areas these hags live in. Pages 61 and 62 of Volo's Guide to Monsters has tables you can roll on to determine minions a hag may have in their lair or at her disposal.
Cool. Do you have any favorites from that table?
Looking at the table, there's two of them actually on page 62, and they're divided up into servants or brutes. You have flame skulls, flesh golems, helmed horrors, a rug of smothering under servants. Brutes, I would imagine I would immediately gravitate towards that with the Annis hag. Could be bugbears, doppelgangers, gargoyles, were-rats, werewolves even. They even have Kenku in here. There's a few in the list that have stat blocks here in Volo's Guide specifically, such as Shadow Massives and Yeth Hounds, Quicklings, Redcaps, Meanlocks, so on and so forth.
Yeah, you know how I feel about Redcaps. Love them.
They're so good. Even Oni is listed in here too. I think it's pretty cool.
Interesting. And you touched upon ogres previously in this lore as well, right? In the Annie Sag lore?
Yeah, they particularly ogres are one of the types of creatures that would likely gravitate towards being, under the sway or in a tribe that's run by a hag, or trolls as well.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, Oni's just a magical ogre in 5e, right?
I believe so, yeah. They're magical. They might even be undead.
In lore, they're definitely undead, but I don't know. We'll get there, listeners.
Definitely. I think that's an exciting one, because I know there's going to be probably a very rich real-world lore surrounding Oni.
Yeah, there's a lot. Just plug Myths and Legends again real quick.
So that's basically it for minions and pets, though. It's not a huge section, but I wanted to lump it together with mounts and vehicles. They might even have, say, a giant raven that carries her around, and maybe a mortal who tried to strike a deal with her and then she transformed. They will even use mundane objects too, like they might fly around in a cauldron, or a bird's nest, or a dragon's skull, or a tombstone, or a statue. All these things could be enchanted. Imagine a hag just surfing on a tombstone across the night sky.
I can't stop picturing a green hag rolling into town on like a regular-sized potbelly pig, with just like an entourage of red caps around her.
Oh, that's so good. There's some really good potential for silly flavor in that. But I thought it definitely tied into the minions and pets. Like you could, sort of turn someone into one of these things and use them as a minion or as a mount.
It definitely seems like as dark as this gets, there's also quite a huge opportunity for humor. Mm-hmm. Like the idea of a sea hag just flying around in a fucking cauldron is just ridiculous. It's insane.
It is so silly. They do touch just very briefly on a slight mechanic for these, and it's in that usually only the hag is able to control said objects that are enchanted. Occasionally, they might allow a minion to do it, but often expect a huge return on her investment if she's to allow someone to have command of these things.
Okay, so like she could give her goblin her flying dragon skull to ride into battle,
but it's winning that battle or the advantage she's giving to that said minion needs to be big for her to be willing to do that.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm. I mean that'd be a cool way to start your encounters. You're 120 feet out and these fucking swath of goblins just get dropped on you from a tombstone.
Yeah. Absolutely. In any case, that's it for the Annis Hag episode. That's all I've got. Annis Hags, minions, pets, mounts, and solitary and social.
And I think for the most part, I said it properly. And he's definitely slipped in there a bunch.
That's fine.
Yeah. Okay, that's going to do it for us today. It's just another little shorty in our Haguary suite. So, Rakshasa. Can I pluralize that? Rakshasa are going to be next at the last 2 weeks of February. I don't have the exact date in front of me. So reach out to us on Twitter at EncounterPod if you've got any sweet stories. If you like the show and you want to help us make it better or even continue to do it, you can hit us up at patreon.com/encounterthispod. If you could rate and review us on your platform of listening of choice, that would help us out a lot. And thanks again, creatures, and we'll catch you next week with Hags.
Hugs, everyone. Memory has been an unpredictable and wishy-washy thing in the previous months. So many new ones made, so many old ones prompted by, well, you name it. Your environment, your senses, both natural and magical. The adrenaline of combat. You never know what will come up next or how far it will take you back. Right now, Badger, as black fumes suddenly envelop you, on the outskirts of your now fading consciousness, you feel as though your whole life should be flashing before you. But instead, it is the moment in your past most connected to the here and now that comes forward. The gravel road was sometimes littered with unnaturally sharp rocks. The laughter of children floated on mountainous zephyrs. Odd cairnstones carved with the faces of children, decidedly not laughing. The sudden appearance of an ogre, barreling out from behind an oddly placed boulder. Even more suddenly, a thick black fog, no, smoke, appears all around you. Caustic in nature, it seemed to burn you from the inside. Your lungs feel on fire. A massive, gnarled hand reached out and pulled you forward, a lopsided face with a drooping grin of pure malice. You were lifted as if only a child. Drawn in as if to be embraced, crushed as if to be snapped in twain. You hope to snap to now, just as you had back then, when the smoke first covered you. When you first found yourself manhandled with a nary a thing you could do about it. But the memory continues through the events that had once transpired. You saw bones of dead beasts and humanoids strapped alongside dead flora, across a hunched and lumpy, boiled-covered back. Leather you couldn't help but instantly note was unnervingly supple. The familiar clash of weapon and opponent somewhere nearby. You heard someone call your name.
Badger! Badger!
You wish it had drawn you out of your half-conscious state. Instead, it seems to be as real in the memory as it does in the present. You feel pulled so fully back to that moment that you somehow know you have to play it out all over again. Your stumped arm, as if of its own volition, weakly wails on a twisted mouth, gurgling and frothing with what could only be hunger. And despite all of these sights and sounds, this time, one thing stands out above it all. Those teeth. Strangely jagged and pointed. Exactly like the iron token around your neck. You remember this moment so vividly. You feel as though you have a chance to play it out a different way.
I cast heat metal as a 5th level spell. On her teeth.
Holy shit. Inspiration for Badger. Roll for damage.